Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of your Salesforce Journey podcast. Today we have with us Nicolas. He is CTO at Cloudity, France. He's founder of two applications on open source. He's also speaker at Dreamforce and other international conferences. So really excited to speak to him. So let's dive into a conversation. Hey Nicholas, thanks for joining us for your Salesforce Journey podcast. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thanks a lot for your invitation.
Great. So Nicholas, we like to probably start with a quick introduction for yourself and, how you reach where you are. So maybe if you can just elaborate a bit on that.
Okay.
So, how did you, so you are currently CTO, right? So you started a couple of decades ago, if I'm not wrong.
I started to work maybe, oh, I'm so old, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
22 years ago, something like that. And I started the Salesforce maybe 7 or 8 years ago because in the company I was working on an insurance software backend. And for a pre-sales campaign, we needed to have something nice, to have a nice front end. And my boss came to me and said, "Oh, there is Salesforce. Can you try to make an integration between Salesforce and our back office?" And I said, "Okay, no problem. But what is Salesforce?" And it started like that. And then
What was the first product or first, code you wrote on Salesforce? Was it on Apex or Visual Force?
it was so no, I started Salesforce at the beginning of Lightning. So it was for to build an ESV application for App Exchange, and it was in Apex, and it was Aura, not
Aura.
LWC.
Aura.
Yeah.
Great, great. Good to know. What kind of application was that?
Basically, it was something that allowed people who are a client of insurance companies to see their latest reimbursement but basically it was something that allowed a customer of insurance companies to handle their contracts, also register to new contracts for basically a front-end application for insurance users.
Great, great. How are things going now? So, do you like Salesforce yet, or you are still exploring? How are things there? Or you probably have mastered lot of things in Salesforce by now.
So I like Salesforce, but not all of it.
The governor limits, is it?
Sorry?
I am saying, are you talking about the governor limits or something else?
Um, mm, but the fact that it is a closed platform, that you, in other technologies, when you need something, there is a library, you can use it, import it, whatever. So it is more and more existing with Salesforce, with a managed package, with GitHub repositories. But the community is, for example, if you compare to the Python or the Java community or JavaScript community, but the Salesforce community is smaller, so there is less choice than in other technologies. And like you just said, the limits can be kind of boring, but we learn to live with it.
Yeah. No, get from where you're coming because you are into open source. You have built a couple of apps on open source as well. I think you love probably the open source more. So maybe we'll also talk about that in a bit. But how was the experience speaking at Dreamforce?
It was scary first
Okay.
because even if I do more and more presentations in different events, I can be an anxious person. So being in front of all the people presenting, so it's scary. But once I am in it, it's okay. So my showman character takes the lead. So yes, I did two presentations in Dreamforce, one with my colleague Jean-Pierre about CI/CD using sfdx-hardis, and another with Andres Catalan and Shane McLaughlin about Salesforce DX plugins. And it was a really nice experience to be a speaker, but also to be an attendee at Dreamforce, because there was a lot of very interesting sessions and I'm glad to have been able to attend to them. And I also met a lot of people I discussed all year on LinkedIn or Twitter, so it's nice to see in real the persons, to have a drink with them.
Great, great. Good to know
And
that.
you, have you ever been to Dreamforce?
Yeah, I'll be there this year.
This year you'll be there.
Yeah,
I hope I will be too, so we can be there.
yeah, we can probably catch up there. Sounds good. So, Nicholas, talking about the open source, right? So, how did you get introduced to open source? Was it your probably the first job, or were you curious enough to get into
Mm,
open source? And you have also built a couple of apps on open source, right? The
yes, but
calculator and the
I
SFD.
started open source around Salesforce because I started to be a user of open source. So like everyone, I need something, I Google, oh, there is a GitHub repo. Oh, this is nice. And then when you use a lot of open source, you see there is bugs, features that you would like, and the maintainers, like I am today, they say, okay, you want something? Okay, you can implement it, and I will validate. So I started to contribute to open source projects.
Mhm.
And at some point, I needed new tools. And so when you need something and it is not existing yet,
You
you
created.
can create it. And if you are not too stupid, you create it as open source, so you will not be the only one to maintain it later. So it's nice to create tools, but also to federate a community around it to help about the new features, the maintenance, the testing. It's really nice. My two biggest projects, which are sfdx-hardis for Salesforce, there is 20 contributors today, and Megalinter, which is not, it can be used with Salesforce, but it can also be used for any type of project.
Project.
I have more than 100 contributors, so it's nice to work as a team with people you don't know and you will never meet. But it allows you to work with very skilled people that you might not meet in your day work life. So
It's
working in
always
a
fun meeting and exploring, working with new people around the globe, right? I think with IT industry, right, it is really easy to collaborate because it does not matter which part of the world are you in. So it is
yeah.
easier to collaborate compared to maybe some other industries where you need to physically meet each time you work together, right?
For example, on my different projects, if I take again sfdx-hardis, I work with a German guy, with someone else in Finland. I have early adopter who is in South Africa. People write to me from Brazil, from India, of course. So it's
It's
people I
always
would have
fun.
not met at work on my European projects in Cloudity.
Great. So can you probably tell us a bit more about the megalinter.io? What is that about, and what kind of it facilitates, and who should use those products?
So Megalinter, it is just an aggregator of linter. So a linter, it is a syntactic analyzer for code, and basically for all languages, including the ones used in Salesforce.
Right.
But you have some tools allowing to check the consistency, to check for security flows, etc. And Megalinter is just the big mix of all that, orchestrated and with post-treatment to have unified reports with notifications, soon with Grafana dashboards. And in Megalinter, there is a SFDX scanner, so the linter pushed by Salesforce themselves, which is open source too. And SFDX scanner, it embeds Apex PMD, LWC linter, and also Aura linter.
Okay,
So
that's great to
it
know.
allows you to have if you put Megalinter or any linter in your CI/CD pipelines, it will enforce some quality, some consistency before being published at the upper level. So it means that it forces people on a project to work in a more clean way and in a more safe way too.
Safer. And also from a scalability perspective, it kind of keeps track of your security and other things, right?
Yes.
Great, great. No, good to
It
know
will
that.
also
I think
detect. We know that sometimes people they use I don't know, an API key or whatever, and that put it in Apex. I will change it later, and they always forget it. But if you have Megalinter, it will. Oh, you have an Amazon Web Services key in your code, so no, you cannot pass. So can be
Yeah, I think
safer.
people also hard code sometimes IDs, right, for testing and they leave it there, probably. But that is not a good practice at all, but they don't conduct the PMDs and all those things. No, I
Yeah.
think great tool. So it is probably a security matrix, right, wherein you can help people safeguard their security review and App Exchange security review cost as well, right? Because the cost is huge.
And we know that in the Salesforce ecosystem, security is not always a very important topic. It should be, but as we have budget, money, charges to respect, security is sometimes a thing that people don't really think about. But having such tools enforcing it that allows people to forget to think about it, because those tools will remind you that some things that you are trying to do are
Yeah.
not safe. Also, for example, we also in Megalinter, we also embed the Lightning Flow Scanner, which is another project I work on. So it's not my project, but I work a little bit to help Ruben, who is the creator. And for example, it will detect that if you use hard-coded IDs in flows, or if you use DML inside the loop, or whatever. So yes, it's nice to have this panel of tools that will enforce quality on the code, on the security, but also on the flows now.
Got it. Got it. Oh, great. So Nicholas, what is kind of one thing in your experience with Salesforce in specific that was kind of the challenging part for you since you started almost 7, 8 years ago?
The challenging part,
Most challenging, not the challenging.
the most challenging. So my first security review for App Exchange was challenging, but
That is
now
always
it's
challenging.
okay. No, I think one of the most challenging stuff is not technical. It is, we all know Salesforce, which is half a technical company and half a marketing company. So Salesforce likes to announce new stuff, new features, new magic stuff, etc. So they make big announcements about it. So our clients, they want it, but sometimes it's not really ready yet, or
Yeah.
it's not fully working yet. So there is it is something we do internally in Cloudity. We have a structure to let's say analyze every new feature of Salesforce to know to be able to know if it is really usable
Is it well
and
or it is in
effective
beta, right?
now, or maybe is it better to wait for 6 months or 1 year. But that's how we today. So last year it was all about data cloud, AI, blah blah blah. But AI last year it was mostly announced, nothing really real. But this year it's starting to be real. So now we are investing to improve our capabilities, to train our collaborators. So now we are able to deliver AI projects to clients. But if we wanted to do so 2 years ago, there was nothing. So
Yeah,
it would have been difficult.
that is definitely there. Yeah. So you are pretty tech enthusiast, right? So how was the journey from starting from a developer becoming a CTO today? How was the journey like?
So I hope kids won't listen, but the key is to stop school at 16 years old and to self-train on an old and noisy computer. So that's how I started by passion. I learned to code by doing PHP, MySQL websites long time ago. It was the time of jQuery was the new stuff at that time.
Equal.
Uh, yes, it was 20 years ago, but even more. So I started to, I self-taught programming by myself, but then I have been lucky to have very efficient colleagues that helped me to grow technically, but not only technically, but also on my let's say people skills or posture, because we always there is some legend thinking that saying that developers they are just here to code, but no. Being really a good developer, it is understands business
As requirements.
requirements, being able to discuss with the client without saying what you're asking is shit. Your, it is, voilà, you also have to learn how to disagree with people, especially when they are your colleagues. You have to talk about charges, about deadlines, etc. So I have been lucky to have, I had multiple mentors during my work life that helped me get better about it. And someday Cloudity called me and they were looking for a CTO. I was the architect at that time. So I was, are you sure? Because CTO, I'm just an architect. And they said, okay, come, let's make interviews. And we got on very well. So they hired me as CTO, but it was kind of random. It was not a career plan to become CTO. At some point, a company asked me to be CTO, and I was enthusiastic about the project they were offering me. So that's how I became CTO. But
Great. Long journey though.
work, a lot of work.
Yeah. And that's something you'll have to definitely do, right, in order to become a CX. So it's not that easy, right? So what are the next projects, Nicholas? Any other open source apps or Salesforce apps you're working on? How are things there?
I already have, because when you are an open source maintainer, you create new projects and it's nice and people use it and they are super, etc. And at some point, you see that you have too many projects and not enough time.
Yeah.
So if the project is really successful, like SFDX or sfdx-hardis or Megalinter can be, you can find people to help you about the maintenance. But I'm trying to not start new projects because some people sometimes they call me, hey, Nico, I would like to start a new project. And sorry, but I have a life. It is difficult to keep my life while being a CTO and maintaining projects. So I don't have a new project, but if one of my submitted sessions at Dreamforce is selected, I will have a big project with this summer that will be to use AI to solve deployment error with Salesforce DX.
Great. So that is something you are planning to present at Dreamforce?
It is, I submitted the stuff, but I precised this is not existing yet, but if you select me for this topic, during this summer, I will make it a reality. So if they select it, I will have to find a way to automatically solve deployment error using AI.
Great. Great. No, I'm pretty excited for AI because AI is all around the corner and everybody is kind of planning and looking at how we can leverage AI with other stuff. But this will be really cool if we get selected and love to listen to the session at Dreamforce this year.
I will keep you a place at the front row if I am lucky to be selected and to allow to go there. Yeah.
So Nicholas, any recommendations, tips for maybe some newbies who are just starting around their career in an IT company or maybe at IT services, planning to maybe become a CTO one day? What do you recommend them? Just work, is it?
Work, of course, but not only. I would say that to progress in a tech career, I think we have to start as soon as possible work on your visibility, because there are a lot of pretty good developers, and if you work with them, you know that they work well, but if you don't see them, you don't even know.
You don't even know.
So I think it is really important when you do something, but to talk about it. It can be on internal channels in your company. It can be on LinkedIn, on Twitter. And the goal is to be part of a community which is bigger than just your colleagues, because you will grow faster and better if you are not just influenced by your close colleagues or your project, but if you are if you are part of a community, you will know before your colleagues what's new and is it working or not, and to have let's say CXO place. There is a big part of the job which is representation, which is you are the face of the tech of your company.
Yeah.
So you cannot just be a good tech. You have to be good to talk about tech,
Present.
and also to talk about tech to people who understand nothing to tech.
Yeah. I think that is where the customer handling and customer requirement gathering part comes into play. That you need to understand their business and then propose them a solution, which they will agree to, right? That is part of the job.
Basically, you don't just look in front of you. You have to look
Wider, yeah. I
look
think
everywhere.
bird eye view is really important at any CXO position. It's tech is maybe 40-50% of the part, but maybe another 20-30 is customer handling and 20-30 is the way you present yourself, right? Sounds good. Great, Nicholas. It was pleasure having you here and super excited to meet you at Dreamforce this year.
I hope so too.
Great.